How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's kind of it's very strange, isn't it, at the moment? Really, it's very strange for everyone. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of adjusting a little bit to different ways of doing things. Recognize that maybe it's not great for everyone at the moment. So yeah, it's weird, but I'm okay.
I think I've had, I think the first week when we started to kind of have the like social isolation, I was kind of like in planning mode, and I was kind of busy and I wasn't really thinking about things. But I think this week for me feels harder because like this massive change has happened and I haven't had any control over it. And I'm not used to it yet, and I'm still sort of not into the routines of things, or yeah, I know that I will get there and I will adjust, but this week has been, I felt it more difficult, I think, for
Yeah.
me. Are you getting asked more about like people wanting advice on what they should do?
Yeah. In fact, if I'm honest, I'm getting a little bit fed up really of seeing a lot of so I follow quite a few psychology things on social media and things like that, and there's a lot of, I think everyone's trying simultaneously to think about what psychological advice they ought to give people around all this stuff that's happening, and if I'm honest, I find some of that a bit frustrating because I think do you know what, it's really crap. Everyone's in this crap situation, and what most people are feeling in that situation is totally normal, and I say that in a sort of sense of normal in a not normal situation, really. And I think we probably, as psychologists, feel that we ought to be doing something and we want to help and all that stuff, and I think it's driven from a good place. But at the same time, sometimes I feel a bit inadequate in the advice I can give because I'm saying, yeah, it is rubbish. Look after yourself if you can. And yeah, I don't think I've got any magic answers. It would be nice if I did.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same page about that. I definitely feel that question sort of throws me a little bit because, well, it's almost like saying if someone has recently been bereaved, what strategies can you do to make them not sad anymore? Like that's kind of an equivalent to me. That you can't change the fact that people are feeling worried about it. Like it's about kind of just rolling with it as hard as that is going to be. Like you're going to feel worried at this time, and that's difficult. But as I just said, like every day is different, isn't it? You'll find some days that you're really worried and other days that are slightly better. But like you said, it's kind of, you wish that you could give the magic answer, like, do this and you'll not be worried anymore. But it's kind of inevitable you're going to be feeling worried, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can't just take those feelings away and actually probably nor should you. I think there's something really unifying about this experience, I think, in the sense that, as a psychologist, a lot of people will say to me, how I think they feel very different, as if they're not the same as other people, and they've got some sort of pathological anxiety or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And actually there's something about this that all of us, including those of us who are maybe mental health professionals, all feel something about this. It's a collective experience. And I think, what you said about grief, really accurate actually, around, there is an expectation that if something like that happens, you would be relatively kind to yourself around how you would expect to have a lot of difficult feelings about that. And I think this is quite similar. I think we're quite keen to pathologize anxiety and say, it's a problem. I'm not saying it doesn't affect our functioning, of course it does, but yeah, we're all in this together, aren't we? And from that point of view, everyone's probably having some anxiety reaction. And actually, some of my clients who struggle with anxiety are saying in some ways they're feeling better than some of their their, you know, their friends and family, because you know, they're kind of used to feeling like this.
Yeah.
So in some ways, you know, they've built up some resilience, or they already know some techniques and stuff that help them. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure to feel like you're doing something.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So you know, we must be doing something, and I think that's it, two ways really. The first one is, you know, if I feel worried, I must do something with it. You know, I can't just sit with it. That's the first thing. And the other thing about feeling you have to do something is that we've all been put into this situation where, you know, we're at home more, we don't probably have the same activities, and this thing about you know, you've got to be doing stuff all the time, like, I don't know, writing a novel or you know, yoga. It's always yoga, isn't it? Yoga and meditation. This, you know, this idea that we must be filling this time with all these productive activities and stuff, and it's bullcrap, really. Yeah.
And it is interesting that people feel like they have to give you advice and something to do to make it all go away.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Probably the more that you fight it, or the more that you regard it as being a problem, that the way you think about it almost becomes a problem in itself.
Yeah.
Or an additional problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I talked about kind of thoughts. You know, if you start to feel worried, and then you start to kind of have thoughts in your head about what's going to happen, and you start creating kind of stories, and then the more that you have these thoughts, you kind of increase your worry as well, and then you're kind of in a cycle. And then that does become a problem because you kind of can't get out of that cycle. Whereas actually, if you kind of can just sit with it, kind of not get engaged in those thoughts and just kind of roll with it, knowing it will pass, and kind of look after yourself at that point, ring people, you know, get that validation, and that's probably a healthier way to do it. But I do wish that I could give people a better strategy than that.
I mean, a lot of it is about uncertainty as well, I think, isn't it? So like, you know, you said if you have a feeling and then you might have a thought about it, you said, you know, this might happen, that might happen, and we don't know really what's going to happen fully, do we? We can try and predict it, but the idea of sitting with something that's quite interesting, not to say that everything's about mindfulness, but it is very much about the here and now, isn't it? You know, I'm feeling worried about this right now, and I'm going to sit with that. Versus, you know, I'm going to like have lots of things about, you know, maybe this is going to happen, maybe that's going to happen. I'm not saying necessarily choose to or not do that, but there's a definite change in mindset, isn't there, about that?
Yeah. It's kind of like I find mindfulness quite difficult to explain, because it can be kind of misinterpreted kind of as kind of more of a relaxation, or people don't really understand what it means by being present focused. So I've kind of tried to reframe it as sort of being able to kind of master your mind, like choosing where it goes, kind of not drifting off into the future or the past, but kind of like, actually, I don't have to engage in those thoughts. I can kind of bring it back and decide whether to engage with it or not.
But I mean, yeah, all it really is refocused attention, isn't it? Or you know, you're focusing your attention on the present. And I think one of the misinterpretations of it is that means that you're focusing somehow on happy feelings, or that you're not experiencing difficult emotions. But you know, you can what you're talking about is mindfully being anxious, actually, isn't it? It's hard, isn't it? That there's a skill in itself probably that needs to be kind of practiced.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an easy skill to do, actually, mindfulness. You know, considering actually when you do the kind of exercises, you think, yeah, I've got the hang of this, but actually to become a master of your mind, to kind of make those choices, like, it's very hard to do that, because you do kind of slip into thoughts, like I certainly do. You know, you kind of drift off, and then it's kind of about consciously bringing yourself back again, just, you know, being okay with the current situation, and not thinking about what if.
Just as much as there might be something about focused attention, there might be something about taking your focus away from something as well.
Yeah.
So for me, I've checked on the news, maybe once a day or something like that, but I'm really careful not to look at it all the time.
Yeah.
Because I can get off on that track of, oh gosh, this person died, or whatever it is, and then before you know it, you're in total catastrophe.
I know.
One of the things that is good about it is in times like this, people are quite creative, aren't they? And suddenly all these little things spring up.
Yeah.
Like delivery projects and people volunteering to do stuff. It does help you probably to feel better, to know that there are, there's good stuff happening as well as bad stuff, maybe. But I think, I guess in any kind of anything like this, you get a lot of change, and in a lot of change you get some innovation, don't you?
Yeah. I'll have some time where I'm like, oh my gosh, the enormity of everything that's happening, and I'm worried about myself and my family. But I do find positives keep creeping in, and then I almost feel like, what should I be focusing on positives at this difficult time, or should I just be focusing on the negatives when there are some I don't know. I feel a bit confused about what I should be thinking.
But isn't that thing about this idea that you should have certain thoughts about things and you should have certain feelings about things?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right.
And again, it reminds me a lot of what you said about grief, that a lot of time, if I talk to somebody who's had a bereavement, they'll say, oh, I should be feeling like this, I should be feeling like that.
You should just be able to kind of sit with wherever you're at, because sometimes you're going to be feeling more worried, and sometimes you're going to be feeling okay, and that's okay wherever you're at.
But again, this idea about this experience being quite unifying for everybody is, we now all have this experience, I guess. And, I'm moving up and down the continuum of anxiety all the time.
Yeah.
As is probably a lot of the people that we're talking to. So, and actually, maybe that's the power in all of this, is that really the thing that's going to help everybody is human connection.
Yeah.
And maybe it is more like therapy than it is about giving advice. As in, it's more like the process is more like that than it is about somebody telling you what to do.
Yeah.